Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I want to talk to you guys about an episode I had, and it happened when I mixed DXM and LSD together. As you could probably guess, it was a pretty intense experience. I only mixed half a bottle of DXM with half a tab of acid and some weed, but even so, it was a absolutely hectic experience. When I mixed LSD and shrooms before this, they synergized extremely well. And I figured this was because I'd mixed two drugs that play on our serotonin. Then after that, I guess I had some experience with DXM, was quite mystified by it, in fact, and DXM is a dissociative, so I think I was just curious to know what it'd be like to combine a dissociative, which in its own right is very psychedelic, with a traditional psychedelic. Or LSD. When I Googled it, it said that it was a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So obviously it played with serotonin a lot as well. So I figured maybe a similar thing could happen if I combine these two drugs, have this like united experience that just felt right. And more or less that is kind of what happened, but I ended up meditating during this experience. I'll still tell you guys about the effects before I started meditating because they were very unique. But the meditation itself was fucking insane, and I learned a lot from it. Learned a lot about myself. Definitely how to navigate some tough moments during trips, because this was a pretty scary one. So this happened, as I said, about a year or so back, probably 2 years now, in fact. And geez, time flies too fast. And I took, I had actually a Google first. I went online and had a search, and just to make sure that I could combine these two without damaging my health. And it looked like it was all good. So then I looked up some trip reports online to see if anyone had done it. And you know, this is half the reason why I make this channel, because there is a lot of bullshit online, which unfortunately it's taken me a long time to realize, because why someone would be lying about their experience when they're posting as an anonymous person is beyond me. Maybe these people aren't lying and I just have a totally different experience when I replicate what they do. But anyway, some person said that they took a whole bottle of DXM, a whole tab of acid, smoked some weed, went for a walk, and had the most chill, fun, relaxing time ever. I thought, fuck yeah, this sounds real fun. And you know, I figured I'd just do a half a bottle of DXM and half a tab of acid instead, just to make sure that everything is still pretty chill. And look, I was wanting an intense experience, you know. The experience I ended up having, it was my favorite trip, I think, at the time. So I wasn't looking for like a way to kill time, but I definitely wasn't expecting to have the trip I did. Especially as I had mixed LSD and magic mushrooms before this. But anyway, so I had half a bottle of DXM, half a tab of acid. And I remember as I was waiting for the effects to kick in, probably about half an hour in, I ended up just vomiting out a puddle of water. And in the middle of the puddle was this half a tab of LSD. So I ended up reaching into this puddle and pulling out this half tab of acid and re-swallowing it. Which is kind of gross. Waited for the effects to kick in a bit more and smoked this massive cone of weed, and I went upstairs into the room I used to meditate. I use it because I can just turn off all the lights, it goes pitch black, so it's easy to do it in there. But before I started meditating, I remember just looking around, and I start seeing, so LSD causes you to see faces in the walls, and it like enhances the effect of pareidolia in a major way. Well, DXM doesn't have that effect, yet when I mixed LSD and DXM together, I was seeing faces in things that I've never seen faces in before. I was looking at cupboards on the wall, and it was combining with the furniture to make mechanical, robotic-looking faces. It's very similar, I think, to how when you're using Google Dream, that software that kind of is famous for seeing puppy dog faces in footage. Like you would just start filming something, turn Google Dream up, and all of a sudden everything would just turn into dog faces. We have something that's in our head similar to Google Deep Dream that's been tuned to find faces in a certain way because it's been practical for us. But then LSD kind of alters what it's searching for, and so it sees faces everywhere. Or DXM and LSD alters that in a major way, and you're seeing faces where you just did not think it is possible to see faces. So, you know, I was having those sort of sensations. Other than that, not much to really report from memory. I can't really remember too many of the effects I was feeling while I was coming up, but I definitely remember the more serious effects after the meditation began. So anyway, I began the meditation, and damn, I put on some psytrance while I was doing this. I was listening to hallucinogen. It just was fucking awesome. I can't remember much from this point, but then I remember after enjoying this for a bit, I decided to like start meditating more seriously. And you know, I allowed myself to drift off, stopped kind of concentrating on the music and started just, well, meditating properly, like not thinking and letting go. And I just remember being shot through these tunnels at hyper speed. And it was as if there were these aliens looking through these windows in the tunnels. And as I'm shooting through, they're all whispering like just the most insane secrets. Like, I can't remember a thing that they were saying at this point. I really wish I had access to my footage because I'm sure I said what was going through there. Then what happened after that is I remember it seemed real chaotic, and all my visuals and all my psychedelic thoughts were just kind of covered in some fog that I was just trying to reach through and trying to kind of make sense of, but it was very hard to do so. All of a sudden that fog just cleared and I appeared in this red room, and I remember it so clearly at the moment. Basically what happened is I entered this red room, and next thing, this voice in my head just kind of says to me, it sounds like my own voice, it's just like, do you want to see black magic? And I said, yeah, why not? I wasn't really thinking about it, I just kind of acted on autopilot. And next thing, I see in my vision this black square just appearing like this. And each time it hits a corner, this dark energy starts spewing out. And then it just kind of forms all the way. And once it finished forming, it just looked dark. It looked twisted and very powerful. The voice then continues. It goes, now that you've seen that, you can never go to heaven. Now at the time, I don't know if I believed in heaven or not, but it didn't matter. I was at such a vulnerable place that I just was like, what? You know, when you're tripping, especially when you're meditating and you're in a deep place, all you have are your thoughts and your hallucinations. And when your thoughts and your hallucinations are kind of working against you, you can feel very powerless. And I definitely for a moment there was pretty scared. I was like, wow, what have I done? You know? Then something just kind of occurred to me, which was like, wait, this is an aspect of myself trying to give me a bad trip. I remember just saying to myself, you're not going to get me that easy. You got to try way better than that. I remember the voice all of a sudden stopped sounding like it was my own. Either I was hearing it like it was a distant voice in my head, or I could just hear it intuitively. I remember it replying somehow along the lines of saying, oh yeah, we'll see about that. Like, I'll get you. And next thing I see this dark cloud in front of me. Just this cloud of dark smoke. That's what it looked like. It just started rushing at me, this cloud. And this cloud felt like it contained the intelligence of this dark energy, or this dark, this thing that was thinking so darkly. And it just launched itself as if it was trying to enter me. And I was just laughing hysterically at it. I was like, you're weak, bitch. You're weak. You have to try way harder than that. Just saying crazy shit, I guess. But it was working. I wasn't having this bad experience. And eventually it just stopped. Eventually just left, and I was feeling way fucking better. Actually feeling pretty strong after that. And that's one of the reasons why I really liked that trip, because I felt I'd overcome this challenge. The encounter with this dark entity was so, I don't know, like cliched almost. Like, you think about how vampires are depicted in stories. They can't enter the house unless you invite them in. Now, I'm assuming vampires are like a metaphor for darkness. And it's true, darkness doesn't have any power unless you give it to it. So it has to masquerade as a part of you. I think that's a line from the Bible, that the devil masquerades as light. It's not like this predator that's able to just snap you up whenever it wants. You have to give the darkness power. That's what this badness feeds on. It's like a parasite. Without your power, it is powerless. Without your fear, it has nowhere to reside. Now, this entity didn't feel like like it was as real as the entities I met on DMT, like these machine elves. It definitely didn't have that same sense of like, this is a genuine being that is beyond me, that knows things about my reality. But I did find it interesting how I handled that during that trip. And it taught me a lot about myself. And I think I realized from that I had a way of, I have a way of navigating my trips. I still kind of use it. And that's this. If it doesn't make me feel good, or if it doesn't feel like it comes from a humble or good place, this information I'm receiving during a trip, I feel like it's probably there as a form of deception. That it's not a truth, but it's kind of like this lie that's trying to make me feel bad. And it sounds pretty simple, but the reason why I think like that is because you hear about how they say the way to make you less depressed and less anxious in life is to be connected here in the moment right now. It's a very popular thing, which is if you don't want to feel bad, just be in the moment. And it makes sense. You think about your own life and the struggles you've gone through. Most of those struggles have probably been as a result from anxieties about the future or reflecting on the past and feeling depressed. But if you connected to the moment, you would see that nothing bad was actually ever happening. You know, maybe once or twice a year when you're under intense physical pain, like maybe you broke an arm or something like that, or you're getting attacked maybe, then there's reason to be in pain and conflict during the moment itself. But all those other days, if you were connected just to the moment, you would be fine, you'd be positive. And the other thing about the moment is that I think it's the only thing that is real. Tomorrow never comes. The only thing you've ever experienced in your life is the moment, right now. The moment is evolving, sure, but you never experience the future. The future always turns itself into the present. The only thing you ever experience is the present. If the moment is the thing that liberates you from your anxieties and the things that make you depressed, and the moment is the only thing that is real and that you ever actually experience, then for me it stands to reason that truth is not connected to anxieties or bad or depressing thoughts. Truth is the thing that makes you feel good. So that's how I kind of navigate through these trips. If something makes me feel negative, not to say if something challenges me, I'll definitely have challenging thoughts. Things that ask me, things that make me confront my behaviors. I don't think that is coming from a place of deception, even though it doesn't make me feel fantastic. But there are some thoughts like that one about me never going to heaven. There are some dark thoughts which just to me seem like they are just trying to give me a bad trip and do not come from a place of truth. And of course, I apply that for life as well. I think it definitely applies to your sober life. Whether or not I can always remember that when I'm going through some challenges is another thing. But when I remind myself of it, it does feel good. So after kind of exercising myself of this bad thought, I stopped meditating, and I remember, I think I had the laptop and I was talking to the laptop about what had just happened, and so I didn't forget. And then I remember seeing in the room I was in, it was really dimly lit, and in the middle of the air, this ooze just starts pouring out. There's like black goo, but on its surface, it's looking like shiny, reflective rock. And it's just pouring out of the air. Sorry about my focus as well, guys. I tried using my other lens, which has a better focus, and it just keeps focusing to the fucking back of the wall. So, which reminds me, you like my new poster? Looks cool, eh? The fuck was I saying? Yeah, so this black ooze, or black goo is pouring out of the middle of the air. It contained in it this, I don't know, it just made me reflect on the worst trips of my life, my bad synthetic weed trips. It didn't make me feel negative or anything like that, but it just felt like that inside this black ooze was the energy of those bad synthetic weed trips. And that shit, I'm not even going on about it now. Those were some bad fucking trips. So I begin to meditate again, and as I do so, a thought appears in my head, which now in reflection I see it as probably this, like, coming from the same place that dark thought that I had earlier came from. But at the time, I didn't really realize that. The thought just kind of said to me, I hope you're feeling strong.
because we're about to give you a bad synthetic weed trip. Like, that's how this experience is about to feel for you. And then I freaked out properly. I was like, you can tell me I'm going to hell when I die, but tell me I'm going to have a bad synthetic weed trip? Fuck that. Even though I probably didn't think that trip could give me the amount of pain and fear that I felt during these synthetic weed trips, I still was just like, I don't want to take that risk. I'm done with meditation. And yeah, the trip started definitely upping the volume for sure. I went downstairs into my living room and just started watching whatever was on TV. I think it was 30 Rock. And as I'm doing so, I remember time just started to slow right down. This was really feeling like a proper long time. And I don't actually remember much in this part, but I do remember as I was lying on the couch that it seemed like I was getting to the edge of consciousness itself. And this consciousness didn't seem to be only my own. It seemed to feel like the consciousness that's held by all people. Like if you thought of a person as, instead of being a generator of consciousness, but this biocomputer that kind of, or this bioradio that was tuned in probably through its chemistry to then receive a specific signal that is consciousness itself. It felt like I was getting to the end of the signal itself, the thing that outlasts generations of people. And it felt like I was getting to the very end. And time was slowing down in a massive way. All of a sudden, I just popped out, and the trip, it almost seemed like it stopped. I wasn't seeing, open-eyed visuals, everything, a little bit, but barely. It just felt like I was in this afterlife realm, or I called it an astral realm. That's what I thought I was in. So I'm just watching this 30 Rock on TV, and I'm literally assuming that this 30 Rock is like airing from the afterlife, that I'm just caught in this, in an experience that's happened after I've died. I'm not sure if I'm alive or dead anymore at this point. I remember trying to move a cup on my table with my mind to discern whether or not this was the same reality that I existed in before if I'd entered an astral realm. I was very fucked on, that's for sure. And then, I'm not able to move the cup, and some time passes, and I kind of come back into the mind that I was in before. But when that happens, I start experiencing these time jumps. And this is very common with DXM. DXM fucks with your memory in a major way. And you don't need to mix LSD and DXM for DXM to do this. What would happen is I'd be in one room, and then the next second I'd be in a totally different room. And for me, I would have no recollection of how I got from one room to the other. It just seemed like my perception of linear time was getting all jumbled up, and bits were just getting cut out of my experience. And now that I think about it, I have no real recollection of leaving the kitchen upstairs and entering this room down here, but my mind just has this sense of psychological continuity, which makes it all seem okay. And that was what was taken out from these time jump experiences, this psychological continuity. So, I was like, wow. And this kept happening faster and faster. And it was getting pretty uncomfortable. Definitely felt a sense of ego dissolution coming on at this point, whereby I was like, all right, we're leading up to an ego death experience, possibly. But this is not happening in a comfortable way at all. I just wasn't enjoying it. So I ended up grabbing this supplement here, which I read about online. And it's people who use DXM a lot recommended it. And they said that it totally gets rid of that memory fucking aspect of DXM. And absolutely, it could be a placebo effect. Either way, it worked. I took that, and it just felt like I was my astral self slipping on my real body like a sock. And I could just feel like my spiritual astral feet sinking down and fitting into my real organic feet until it fit perfectly. And then all of a sudden I was wiggling my toes for real. It was very weird. But I remember the relief I felt. I was like, oh, fuck. Thank God. And that was basically the end of the trip. Or at least that's all I can remember. Knowing me, I probably just chucked on a laptop, started watching some videos to make me feel better, and then went to sleep. So, pretty hectic experience for sure, and surprisingly challenging considering, it was just half a tab of LSD with half a bottle of DXM, and compared to half a tab of LSD with a handful of shrooms, I would say it was definitely a more intense experience. I also noticed as well that towards the end of the trip, the experience became less synergized. It felt more like the LSD was colliding with the DXM and they weren't mixing together well. So there was like this mental splitting going on, which wasn't cool. But it was okay. And honestly, it definitely wasn't a bad trip. That was the only time I combined acid and DXM though. So, you know, that kind of speaks for itself a little bit. But yeah, I learned a lot from that experience. And even though I wouldn't call that a bad trip, it still reinforces that idea of there is no such thing as a bad trip, because from the most challenging moments of that, I was able to pull out some really positive stuff. And I think that helped me when I had a bad mushroom trip in the future. That really helped that experience, because I remembered the strength of positive thinking.
Gay!
I eventually got myself out of my bad trip because of those thoughts, or at least I think so. So yeah, anyway, I hope you guys found that video interesting. Obviously, it was a bit difficult sharing this one because, I don't know, the few people I've told about it, it just doesn't seem to go down well because, I don't know, the dark entity really did kind of appear in this cliched manner, which seems like I'm exaggerating or simplifying, but it really was, to the best of my memory, that is how the experience kind of unfolded. So it was a cool one. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you wanted to help me out on Patreon, that would be really appreciated. Hey guys, just real quickly, I wanted to mention the company Green to Health. They are sponsoring this video today, and they make some pretty dope herbal supplements. The products are called MDNT. They can be used for energy, sleep, or pain reduction, depending on which one you buy. Now, they do include kratom and 5-HTP, along with quite a few other herbal ingredients. So give a Google and research, you know, if it's something that you want to try, if it's something that you're into. Kratom and 5-HTP are both going to give you a pretty sweet high. But if you do decide to check out the website and purchase one of these products, use my name when you make the order, TripWhip, and you'll get 15% more product. So yeah, thanks. Otherwise, have a fucking great day, guys. You deserve a great day. There's no reason not to have a great day. So I'll see you soon.